Hi, Crafties, and welcome to Weekend Crafting Adventures. I'm Kim, and today I am going to be sharing with you my Cricut gingerbread cookie project. And I'm actually really excited about this project because the inspiration behind the project is something that my family has done ever since I can remember and I was a little girl. And that is making a gingerbread house as a family around the holidays, building it out of gingerbread, using icing to hold it together, and then decorating it with tons of different fun candies and accessories and gingerbread cookies and things like that. So, in this project, it's going to be a little bit different than some of my other episodes. And that is because I'm going to share with you my Cricut piece of this project, which is creating templates and some stencils to create one of a kind custom gingerbread cookies that are going to accent the gingerbread house that my family is going to be making over this break. We've got a week off right now. And so we're going to be in the mountains, and I am lucky enough that my brother and his family will be joining us, as well as my mom and my stepdad. So this will be a big crew. And my brother and I were talking, and he was like, I don't know if you can do it, but is there a way for you to try to incorporate your Cricut into our gingerbread tradition and kind of see what you can come up with? So I thought about a lot of different things. The first thing I thought about was maybe I could make the gingerbread house template with the Cricut. And the more I looked into that and the more I researched that, there are already so many great gingerbread templates that are already out there that I didn't think that was the direction I wanted to go. I did read that you really, unless you've got a specific kind of food safe mat and cutting machine, that you really don't want to be cutting a lot of food items with your Cricut. So that led me into my idea of personalizing, customizing some of these gingerbread cookies that we're going to use to decorate around the gingerbread house. So my nieces will be up there, my boys, and my whole family. And it got me thinking, how about I try and come up with some really unique templates for gingerbread cookies using my Cricut maker. And so that is what this part of the episode is about. I'm going to share with you that experience. And then, because we haven't created the gingerbread house yet, that's coming up later this week. I will be putting together another short little episode or add on to this episode that has how the decorating of the gingerbread house went and what the cookies looked like as accents around the house, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to focus primarily on the cookies and the templates and the stencils that I created with my Cricut Maker to enhance our family gingerbread experience. So, in preparing for this awesome gingerbread cookie making experience, along with our gingerbread house making experience, I wanted to share with you the gingerbread house templates that I am using. I went on to Etsy, which is one of my favorite places to find lots of different things crafting. And I found a seller called Gingerbread Janie, and she had 3 PDF templates that looked really fun to me. And so I did purchase those 3 templates. One is called the Christmas Cottage. One is called I believe it's Christmas Mansion. And then the third one is just a tree template that I thought looked really fun to make out of the gingerbread as well. So I did purchase those, and they cost for all 3 of those templates for the gingerbread houses and the tree about $13 total with tax included. I did think about making my own templates. We have done that in the past, but I really loved how Gingerbread Janie's templates looked. And one thing I loved about it as well was that she has what she calls a foolproof gingerbread recipe as part of your bundle when you buy the template for the gingerbread house. And that intrigued me. I thought, why not try a new gingerbread recipe? I know in the past when I've made gingerbread, in Colorado, we live at a high altitude, which really can mess with your baking. If you live at a high altitude and you're a baker, you will know what I mean. It is not very straightforward. Things just come out a little bit different than they do when you're at sea level. So I thought it would be fun to try her gingerbread recipe and see how it worked, not only for the gingerbread house, but the gingerbread cookies, and then also if it passed the taste test of my family. So that was why I decided to go with purchasing some gingerbread house templates. So I did that. And then the next part of what I was going to do is start thinking about how I wanted to use my Cricut Maker to enhance this gingerbread cookie and gingerbread house project. And the best way that I thought I could do that with my Cricut was to personalize some of the cookies that were going to be part of this project and surrounding the house, and also to just see if I could find some unique and fun images in Cricut Design Space that then I could have Cricut cut into cookie templates and also stencils. I've talked about Cricut Design Space a lot before and how I kind of can get sucked into finding the images. There are just so many options when it comes to looking for what I wanted to put around the gingerbread house, or what kind of cookies I wanted to make for the kids and the family, not only to put around the gingerbread house, but to eat while we were making the gingerbread house. And I ended up finding 4 or 5 unique cookie template images that I decided to go with. I thought it would be really fun to have a gingerbread sign that was for the North Pole to go out in the yard, something like that, next to the gingerbread house. So one of the images I chose was a really cute sign that looks like it has some snow coming down, icicles coming down. And I thought that that would be a pretty good template for Cricut to cut. So I chose that. I chose a elf Santa that I thought would be really cute, put somewhere around the house, maybe hiding in the snow somewhere, something like that. I chose some elves because it's always fun to have elves peeking around, that kind of thing. And I also chose a Yeti, a Bigfoot, because not only is that an image that my boys and my husband love, but I thought it's fun. We're in Colorado and we're in the mountains. Let's put a Yeti in the yard of the gingerbread house. And the last thing that I decided to do, which was really bringing in that personalization that Cricut is just awesome for, was to create some round cookies, just a simple circle. But on top of that circle, I wanted to use a snowflake template and then use the stencil font in Cricut Design Space and personalize those snowflakes with the names of all the kids. So I wasn't really sure that those would end up in the scene with the gingerbread house and the yard and all of that. But I did think that it was a really fun way to not only test out my stencil making process with Cricut, but to personalize those cookies for the kids to have while we're up in the mountains this week. So that's what I chose to do. And then the next part was deciding what material I wanted Cricut to cut out these templates and stencils with. And this was kind of funny because I looked all over the internet, and really there are so many different stencil materials that Cricut can cut. I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go in. So I did test out a few different materials. The first thing I thought I would try was actual stencil material that is made by Oracle. It's like a blue stencil and it's actually sticky. So I did try that, and that was a big fail. Um, that actually, I think I stuck the wrong side down to my mat. It completely stuck to the mat. And then after I had cut it, I realized I really don't want to be sticking a sticky material onto the cookies that everybody's going to be eating. So really quickly, that material I decided would be a no. I then thought, okay, how about freezer paper or parchment paper or wax paper, something like that, that was a little more made to be with food, which is what I was going to be using it for, was on those cookies. So I did try using freezer paper. I bought a big roll of Reynolds freezer paper, and I had read that I should try to use that and have Cricut cut that at the washi tape setting, and that people have had a lot of success with that. So I went ahead and I tried that, and it did okay for the big kind of silhouette pieces of this project for the cookies, but the detail part, it didn't work well. And so I went ahead and decided I'm not going to use freezer paper. And in the past, I have had a lot of success cutting cardstock with my Cricut. And I thought, you know what? How about I just make these templates and the stencils that I was trying to make out of cardstock? And in the end, cardstock won out for me. It is flexible enough that it can be placed onto the cookie dough or the cookies after they were baked, but it is also not going to stick to the cookies. I thought that it would last more than just one use. And when I was going to have Cricut cut out some details that I'll get into in a minute for the cookies, I thought it would do a pretty good job just based on my experience with cutting cardstock in the past. So cardstock won out for this project in terms of my cookie template and stencils. I did want to share with you a little bit about some of my ideas that I had going into this project, and then how it actually really went in the real world when I tried it. So I had a couple of different ideas, like I had talked about before. The template for the actual cookie shape. And by that, I mean when I want a gingerbread cookie that looks like the North Pole sign that I used from Cricut Design Space, I was just going to have my Cricut, and I had Cricut cut out that North Pole sign that then I was going to use with the raw cookie dough to make that unique cookie shape. So that was the first idea on how I was going to use my Cricut. The second was I found some really cute details that went on top of the Santa elf and the elves and the Bigfoot that I was using. And by that, I just mean some thin cut lines. So if you can imagine, I've got the template of the Santa elf. And then on top of that template is another layer of a cut file, but that has like Santa's hat that's maybe red with a little white pom-pom at the bottom, and just all of those detail lines that I thought in my head and in theory, I would have Cricut cut that detail line out of cardstock. And then when I was decorating the already cooked gingerbread, I was going to put that little detail line on top and put my frosting in between. So I really was thinking I wanted to use that detail cut as a guide for decorating my cookies. And then the third way that I was going to use my Cricut was to create that snowflake template with the stencil of each of the kiddos' names. So we're going to have 4 kids up there, and I put each of their names. Oh, but first I found this really cute cut file in Cricut Design Space that had a snowflake, and then in the middle of the snowflake design was a blank spot for somebody's name or a monogram or something like that. And so I did use that image of the snowflake with that blank spot in the middle so that I could personalize each cookie with that stencil font. And so that was the third way that I used Cricut to personalize these cookies for this project. And the cool thing about Cricut Design Space and the fonts is that in reading up on doing different kinds of stencils, I kept reading about bridging your images, bridging the image so that it comes out well as a stencil. I wasn't really sure what that meant when I started this project, but now I understand that it means putting some little lines or gaps through the closed areas of the images that you are making into stencils. I do not know that much about it. I read a really good and watched a really good YouTube tutorial on it that I will include in the blog post in case you're interested in checking it out more. I really am just beginning to start using my Cricut for any kind of stencil activity or project, which is this is my first one. So I really depended on my Cricut Design Space font to be the stencil font. I did not have to bridge any of the fonts that I used because Cricut has them already bridged for us in Cricut Design Space. So that was very cool. So after learning a little bit about stencils by researching different places on the internet, really the only place that anything that I used in my gingerbread cookie template project, the only thing that was ever bridged was the names, the letters, the fonts to personalize the cookies for each of the kids. And the reason for that is, one, I don't know enough about that piece of making stencils that I felt comfortable doing that for this project. Second is that I really wanted to have the cookies done and ready to go to be part of the gingerbread house building project this week. And so I'm limited on time. I'm working on the weekend to create these gingerbread cookies and get everything ready for the house building this week. So I didn't have a lot of time to do enough research that I felt like I would do it well or be able to explain it to you and do it justice. So like I said, I relied on Cricut for that part. So I want to talk about the experience of my ideas and then what happened when I actually made the cookies using my Cricut to help me with the templates and stencils. So first off, the template. The cardstock template that I had Cricut cut to be the shape of the cookies, just like a cookie cutter that you buy anywhere, except I got to create exactly the shape that I wanted for our gingerbread project. So that went great, cut well. And when I had my cookie dough all rolled out, I was easily able to put the cardstock down onto the cookie and trace around it with a sharp knife and bake it. And they came out awesome. All of the shapes I used came out well. They look good. And I will tell you, the gingerbread is absolutely delicious. So I highly recommend it. So the template piece, awesome. The next one that worked really well that I think is super cool is the snowflake. Personalizing the cookie after it is baked. So now I'm talking about just my round circle cookies that I wanted to make into the snowflake, using the template of the snowflake that has the space in the middle for each kiddo's name. And that worked really well. But it worked well with one kind of decoration. So what I quickly learned was that the template with the stencil worked great with this. It's an edible cake decorating spray. And I chose silver because I thought it would look cute. I thought it would show up on gingerbread, and it does. It's not too bright, but it's bright enough that it kind of adds that, silver shimmer to go along with the whole feel of a winter wonderland gingerbread house scene. So spraying that using the template, that worked great. And those cookies are really fun with the snowflake and each child's name on that cookie. And here's where my idea of what I thought was going to go well didn't. So in using my templates, I was talking before about those detail lines that I really was excited to try when I was decorating the cookies after the cookies were cooked. And what happened was I would put the design line on top of the cooked cookie, and then I made royal icing and I did 3 different colors. I did white, red, and green. And really, this was going to be my trial run to see if what I was thinking it would do worked before I was decorating cookies with my nieces and my kids for the actual project, gingerbread house project. And I was so disappointed because the little detail lines, it just didn't work the way I wanted it to work. I think I probably can do a much better job just freehand decorating the cookies. What ended up happening, as you probably can imagine, and probably thought was going to happen when I said I was going to use cardstock to help with the design, is that the frosting then would stick to the cardstock, and some of the design came out cute. Like I tried the Santa elf, and I used red for the hat, white for the pom-pom, white for his big mustache, just different pieces of the design that I thought would look so cute by using that cardstock cut detail image. And it just kind of, when I pulled it off of the cookie with the icing, it just didn't work. It didn't work. And so that was disappointing. But, overall, 2 out of the 3 things that I was trying to accomplish in this cookie project did work. The templates were awesome, and the stencil was awesome when I used that spray, cake decoration spray. Oh, the other one that came out really great is the North Pole sign. I did do stencil letters that said North Pole. That was the only other cookie that I did like a word stencil using that stencil font from Cricut Design Space. And that came out really cute. I'm so excited to put that in the yard of the gingerbread house. I think it's great. So the stencil with the cake spray and the cookie templates, if you can't find a cookie cutter for what you're wanting to use or make with your gingerbread, which is the only thing I've used them for so far, it's really kind of a fun option. So those 2 worked really well. Unfortunately, the detail with the icing and really being able to kind of use those thin little cut lines of cardstock that had the design cut out to help just really bring those cookies to another level in my mind just didn't work. So that was a fail, which kind of is a bummer, but that's okay, because we'll still use the cookies and I will still use the templates and the stencils, the word stencils, to individualize the cookies. So the cookies taste great. They're really cute. They're ready to go for the gingerbread house construction that will happen this week. And I'm going to give you my crafting keepers for this episode. So the first crafting keeper for this episode is going to be that stencil font in Cricut Design Space. First time I've ever used it, and I am really happy with how it cut. I'm happy with how it looked on the gingerbread cookies. So that I will be going back to in another project. And the second crafting keeper is those templates, gingerbread cookie template cut from Cricut on cardstock, or maybe a different stencil material if you've had more experience or you have a favorite material that you make stencils out of. But being able to go through Cricut Design Space and pick any image that you want and have it be a template for a cookie, how fun is that? So that is definitely another one of my crafting keepers. And I'm going to give you my satisfaction rating for this crafting project. I'm going to go with a 4. And the reason I am going with a 4 is because I am super excited to be with the family, doing this gingerbread house and bringing these gingerbread cookies into the project and just making that once again connection between the Cricut and personalizing things and then bringing it all together with the family to create something fun. I'm really looking forward to that. It did not get a 5 because it just didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to. I didn't get those awesome results for decorating with the icing, the royal icing. I didn't get the result I wanted to. So because of that, it's going to stay at a 4. But I will tell you that I will post a little follow-up. I'm not sure if it's going to be a whole nother episode or maybe just a little add-on to share with you the gingerbread house experience, making that with the family. I'll make sure I take some pictures and videos to show you how the houses come out and how I incorporated these fun gingerbread cookies that Cricut helped me create and design into that project. So I am looking forward to putting this all together and following up soon about how it went. And other than that, have a great week. And until our next crafting adventure, take care.
Hi, Crafties. I'm Kim, and this is Weekend Crafting Adventures. This is just a little follow-up check-in about how the gingerbread cookie and gingerbread house project ended up going, and it was awesome. So the gingerbread cookies, just to follow up, everybody enjoyed them, super yummy. And I actually had the opportunity to make some more cookies with my niece, Vanessa, while we were up in the mountains. And she really enjoyed the elf cookie template and the Santa cookie template. Actually, the Santa cookie that is on our gingerbread house is the cookie that Vanessa cut out with me and that she decorated all by herself. And it's super sweet. It looks great in the gingerbread winter wonderland. And the other cookies were all enjoyed. The ones that I sprayed with the cake decor spray, those got eaten that we used with the stencils, so that was fun. And then the fan favorites that ended up actually part of the gingerbread house project was the Bigfoot, of course, and the North Pole sign. So the Santa elf, the Bigfoot, and the North Pole sign all ended up being part of our gingerbread winter wonderland, and the others did not, but they are being eaten and decorated and enjoyed. So let me tell you a little bit about this gingerbread house construction and project. I had cut out one of the houses out of gingerbread and traveled with it to the mountains. And the other house I actually made with my niece, Vanessa, up in the mountains. And so the ones that we traveled with, a couple of them did break on the way up to the mountains. So I will tell you that it is very, very convenient to have industrial designers and engineers as part of your family when you are constructing gingerbread houses, and some of them break and you're putting them together with frosting and just trying to get the project going. So my brother and my mom were a huge help in that department. I have tons of pictures. I'm going to put some of them up on the blog post so you can see the construction I'm trying to put together together a little video that shows like a little montage of all of the things that we did to keep these houses together. So a few highlights. One I did want to mention, we used this awesome recipe called 7-minute icing. I'm going to put the link on my blog post. That is what we use as our glue to construct the house and keep it together. We've used it ever since I was little, and it is awesome. So the glue that holds the house together is our 7-minute icing. And we did put the houses together. I did not end up using the tree template, but I did use the 2 house templates, and they're very cool. They're very good. We did use the window option on one of the houses, and I will tell you, my mom and my sister-in-law were working very hard to create these glass windows out of sugar. And I'm not sure if it was the altitude or something else, but you will see pictures. The windows are up and then they're melted down. So it was an awesome attempt, but it didn't stop us from completing this project. It still looked very cool with we covered the melted candy windows with some white frosting to make them look like snow. But the construction of the houses was the most challenging part, especially because some of our pieces broke in transit. But other than that, the experience of decorating and creating this gingerbread house winter wonderland with my family was awesome. 3 generations, and the kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And what started out looking as a pretty iffy gingerbread house project, actually turned out pretty amazing. So overall, I would highly recommend the gingerbread recipe. I would recommend the templates that I have listed in my blog post, her instructions. I think her instructions and everything that comes in that little PDF that you download, well worth the minimal amount of money to purchase that, to create something pretty amazing for the holidays. So I hope this inspires you to get crafty. Use your Cricut to create some stencils or some templates for some gingerbread cookies or Christmas cookies, and create a fun gingerbread house activity and enjoy it with friends and family. It really was a nice way to spend time with my family. And now we have a really cool gingerbread house winter wonderland to enjoy this holiday season. Until our next adventure, take care.
That's all for this episode of Weekend Crafting Adventures. Now go get that Cricut machine off the shelf and get crafty. For more information on this crafting project, interesting tips, tricks, and techniques, visit WCApodcast.com. Until next time, when we embark on another adventure.